Hey, what's up and welcome back to Interpreting the Stars. For today I'm going to be going back to the world of G.I. Joe with the first live-action film that was released back in 2009. This one's called G.I. Joe, The Rise of Cobra. This first G.I. Joe film focuses on the lives of two American soldiers as they are recruited in the top-secret government project, the G.I. Joes, as they attempt to foil the evil plans of Cobra. You see, Cobra has gotten their evil hands on a wickedly disastrous nanomite technology that can disintegrate anything and everything that it runs into. So as you could probably recall, last week I talked about Snake Eyes, and that's finally available to watch on digital now, and like I said, I was always planning to go back and rewatch the other films. Now that being said, I have to say that out of all three live-action films that I plan to watch, this was one that I was kind of dreading a little bit because I couldn't remember anything about it at all. Other than maybe one scene in the film with the nanomites destroying the Eiffel Tower, which of course was also in the trailer. I probably remember the sequel more since that was the one with The Rock and Bruce Willis. And even some scenes in that movie come to mind. This one, not so much, and that's a shame because it does have a very good cast of recognizable faces like Channing Tatum, Marlon Wayans, Dennis Quaid, Rachel Nichols, Ray Park, freaking Joseph Gordon-Levitt. This cast is phenomenal. They were clearly expecting the project to gain more traction than it did. With that said, let's take a look at some positives here. For Rise of Cobra, the action. This film clearly wanted to have a lot of fun action sequences above all else, and it does. There's so many sequences here that are indeed well done and a lot of fun, as it's a very flashy, CGI-filled action romp. And that CGI is solid, just as it was for the first Transformers film that came out a couple years before it. All the CGI is mixed in with an element of science fiction, as the Joes and the soldiers of Cobra both have special abilities that seem almost superhero-ish. Kind of reminds me of Hobbs and Shaw, actually, which did something similar. I also really like the fact that it feels like G.I. Joe. I mean, I can't really say that based off the toys, since I never really played with them as a kid, but when I think about G.I. Joe, I think army, soldiers, things like that. And that's what's going on here. Snake Eyes was more of a ninja thing, which makes sense for that character and everything, but it didn't feel like G.I. Joe. And that's one of the very few aspects of this movie that I think is done better than Snake Eyes. That being said, this film was forgettable to me for a reason. Still is, as this is insufferably overconvoluted. I'm not even kidding. This has more bombastic, mindless action than anything Michael Bay has ever done in his career, combined. This 2-hour film feels like it's 4 hours minimum because I just found myself not caring about these characters or the story itself, which just seemed to go nowhere fast. I'm still at a bit of a loss trying to explain what the motive of the bad guys even was. I mean, it has something to do with the nanomites, but as to the end goal, I don't think you're told at all. If you are, it's probably similar to a classic James Bond villainous plot. Again, the cast isn't bad at all. I feel like somewhere in the depths of the story lies an interesting enough concept, and I don't hate the introduction. I think that there's promise there that just isn't really met by the time the film ends. Oh yeah, and I don't know if it is a plot hole or just something that I missed, but the very first scene of the film, you have Christopher Eccleston's character talking about this nanomite technology and how it can be used to destroy a tank or even an entire city, yet there's a scene later in the film where the people of Cobra force a scientist to weaponize the technology. I'm sorry, what? If it can destroy an entire city, isn't it already weaponized? If you had to get the American soldiers to deliver it, isn't it already weaponized? I'm confused. Other than that, yeah, it's not the best film in the world. It's fine for what it is. If you can shut your brain off to it, you're probably better off. But if you want something deeper or more meaningful, you might want to look elsewhere. Let's take a look at my final score. From a technical, unbiased level, I think it has some decent visuals in general, and on paper, the sheer amount of characters and what they are known for is pretty good. Even if you don't remember who's playing who, the characters on their own are all pretty diverse, and you can tell that they're all probably essentially based off of Hasbro stuff, and they certainly are. It's a convoluted story though, and all over the place, so that affects pacing. This score is 64%. My bias score, I lost my interest in the film more than once. It's one of the very few examples I have of boring, high-octane action. This score is 70%. When we combine the two scores together, we come to the final rating of 67%. 67 out of 100 possible stars, or a letter grade of C+. What about you guys, though? Have you seen The Rise of Cobra? If so, let me know your thoughts on it in the comment section down below. And as for YouTube, you guys know what to do. Hit that like, subscribe button, and bell to be notified when I come up with my next review. And until then, peace out.
Dave examines movies we just watch for fun. Davey is the expert, he is the #1 critic that I go to when I need a movie.